Well, good afternoon, everyone. How is everyone doing today on Wonderful Wednesday? And again, it's another great day to be alive and another gift, not only to receive, but to give as well. Can't wait to have our amazing guest today, Elaine Lankford, to come share her story on Conversations for Humanity with us here today. Of course, powered by Bringing Humanity Together. But we're just so humbled and honored. So, Elaine, how are you doing today on Wonderful Wednesday?
We're doing well. Thank you for having me.
So, the question needs to kind of arise because I think last week was, of course, April Fool's on Monday and everything like that. And it was also supposedly like almost like the first day of spring. Number one, people want to know where you actually are located and everything. And we want to know how did you even kind of got together with me and you and all that kind of stuff. So please introduce yourself.
So, my name is Elaine Lankford, and I am the founder of She Steps Forward Coaching and also She Steps Forward International. And I am located in the southeastern corner of Virginia, pretty close to the waterfront, but not quite there, about 50 minutes from the ocean front. And I was actually a podcast guest on the Her Nation podcast, and we were just having a conversation, Sabrina and I, and I'm pretty sure I said something to the effect of everyone coming together to work for the greater good. And I believe you jumped in on that comment, and we just kind of had a conversation from there.
That we did. And when I hear stuff like that, Elaine, I kid you not, it just really just gets me right into the very core of who I am and what I'm all about. Because see, we all, in one way, shape, manner, or form, Elaine, really want to be a part of something bigger than of ourselves. Do we not?
We do, we do.
Yeah.
I think there's something inherent in us that calls out to be part of uh, the universe in a sense. And for me, I come from a faith based background, Christian specifically, and that is to me, God calling us out into the deep and to walk into our callings. And so I think there's always an inner draw to do more than what we see in front of us.
Awesome. Awesome. And see, I truly believe, Elaine, when we just show up as who we really are and we just let that be for what it is versus what we perceive it to be or what we think it to be or what we want it to be, but what is actually being presented to people, then I truly believe when we just allow that to occur, then we can really not be in a place of perception anymore, but we can actually see the reality that's literally before us.
I do. I think we are interconnected as human beings. And I think when we can connect on that level of humanness, that we find what we're here for, and that is connection. We were never meant to be alone. And I think it's a good thing when we can find unity and community.
Absolutely, 110%. So I know we have probably a lot of people watching and everything. Well, we're glad that everyone is here. If you, like I said, would like to join the call, I will share with you that link here in just a minute. But if you would like to come share your story on Conversations for Humanity, here is the link that where you can do that on. So let me bring that up for everyone here right now. You can come share your story on Conversation for Humanity, of course, on there's the link, calendly.com, guest at BHT/CFH, and we would love for you to do that with us in and of itself. And then, like I said, I'll be sharing that link for everyone to come join the call right now. So here's the link to that. So the link, oh, where did I go? There we go. Here we go. Here's the here is the link to join. So Elaine, were you native to Virginia, or did you just kind of like move there? I mean, tell us how you really started uh, not only this journey that you've been on, but look, literally kind of tell us a little background about where you've been, what you've seen, all those kind of things.
So I am a native of Virginia, born and raised, and so I grew up in my little community here in Suffolk, and been here all my life. And so my life started off with a calling into nursing, and so I have been a long time nurse. Had a 16, 17-year nursing career. And so, just in
Wow.
that career alone, that gives you a very good look into humanity, because you deal with all sorts of people that are your patients. And it gives you a huge respect for what people go through on a day to day. I started out in oncology nursing, which is cancer nursing, and moved into pain management. And so, for 1992 to 2008, I was in a nursing career, actively clinically in nursing. Um, and so, toward the end of my career, I was in pain management, and pain management as a huge issue, can be a controversial issue in our country. Again, a career that really shows you a different side of humanity, because pain can make us do all sorts of things when we're physically hurting, and certainly affects us on an emotional and a spiritual level as well. And so, got to be a part of a lot of people's journeys in that area. And so, I went from being a registered nurse all the way up to a nurse practitioner. Was actively practicing for 3.5 years. And unfortunately, around 2008, in our state, pain management became controversial to the point that it was becoming a political issue again. And
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people struggle in that area, not only with pain itself, but there's a small population of addiction. And we were doing the best we could to help in that category without hurting. But the practice that I was in was targeted, and I was targeted by the medical board at the time. And unfortunately, we were closed as a practice. They had some issues with the physician that I was working with. We didn't know that they had been building a case against him for several years. And in the midst of all of that, I became a target as well. And so, long story short, our practice was closed suddenly one day in an afternoon, and my career was kind of swept out underneath from me without any warning. And I had to deal with that. And so, I saw a different side of humanity. I saw a side of humanity that could be judgmental and cruel, and jump to conclusions. And so, um, along that process of having to defend myself, because the board of nursing decided to open up a case against me. There were no complaints, there were no things going on. They just had decided that everyone in this practice was a target. I then had my reputation come into question. And after fighting for so long to be a high level skilled nurse, loving my craft, loving my patients, it was a real hit to me. And so, in the midst of that, and in the midst of battling through and fighting for my reputation for upmost of almost a year, my father passed away, which was the rock of our family. And so that was a hit. And then 5 or 6 months later, after my father passed away, my husband at 47 was diagnosed with prostate cancer. He's fine now. He's a 15-year survivor. But you can imagine that within the course of a little less than 12 months, my life went from perfectly normal and fine to all of a sudden destroyed, from all of these events that were going on. And so it was a push against my faith. I was born and raised in church. I was brought up that way, and had always known that I was going to be a faithful follower of Christ. And yet it was a moment in time that I came to a crossroads and saw both sides of humanity battling it out. and battling within myself. And I had to choose whether to lean into my faith or to pull away. And I chose to lean into my faith. And so from there, the road continues. So I have rebuilt my career in some sorts, and but yet God has given me this beautiful call as well. And so where I was at a crossroads and thinking, how can I get back to nursing? He was opening up doors to show me there was more. There was more for my life, that was a season, that season was over. And though these things had happened, he could make good on that. So we always talk about why do bad things happen to good people, right? And that is inevitably true. Bad things do happen to good people, and good things sometimes happen for bad people.
Yeah.
And that is life, and that is our journey here while we're here on this earth. And so I chose to make the best of mine. I chose to walk through the doors that he's given me. I chose to find the lesson in the tragedy. And I think I've come out better on the other side of it. And that's why I do what I do today, working with women to empower and equip them to chase their God sized dream.
Wow, wow. And Lane, it just really just boggles the mind why something that you know that is going to be of great significance and maybe a net positive for people would turn around and say, no, you can't do that, you can't do this, it's not the way we work and everything like that. And for I can't fathom to imagine how that ordeal played out for you, because number one, uh, doing something as very, very noble and very honoring, especially being in the healthcare field. Because my wife, she's a pharmacy technician. She's been doing it for over 25 years. And if someone was to go undermine what she does and why she does it and everything like that, and whether to be in the healthcare field or, mind you, not even any other field out there on this planet, to really feel like that is being done for whatever rhyme or reason that is, it really makes you really think, did I do something wrong? Was it me? And everything like that. But when you take maybe even a step back, and I'm sure you did this, Elaine, that you really saw, wait a minute, I was not in the wrong. Someone else is doing this for maybe nefarious purposes or whatever the case may be. Because a lot of people nowadays, and I've seen this probably play out just like you have, is everyone in one way, shape, matter, or form has kind of put money at a high level of, I guess, it's almost like they worship the almighty dollar for whatever rhyme or reason that is. And to me, money's not going to buy you fame. Money's not going to buy you fortune. It's not going to buy you notoriety. In some instances, it might, but that's only a short term gain. But when you went through that ordeal, and I'm sure it was really tough for you at first and everything like that. Did you take solace in, and you really knew after a while that and you maybe even you reframed your mind and reframed the way you looked at it and said, you know what, this is not happening to me. This is actually happening for me.
It is because let me just say first off, for anyone who's out there and's been in the healthcare field, you know how tough it is and the lines that we have to walk, and it doesn't take but a whisper these days for someone to accuse you or something, or state something about you that is untrue, and it turn into this mountain that you have to climb. And so, while I do believe there has to be boundaries in healthcare, obviously there are bad actors out there. I knew in my heart that nursing was something that was given to me by God. Like, I knew since middle school I was going to be a nurse. Like, that's how into it I was. And I strived to be the top of the top in everything I did. I knew that I walked in integrity. I knew that there was nothing I would ever do to harm a patient ever. would I do to harm a patient. That is not my MO, as people say. And to have your entire life that you've worked. So to be a nurse practitioner, for instance, that was 11 and a half years of school to get that far, going through nursing school to a bachelor's to a master's. Why, to a nurse practitioner program, why would I do anything to endanger that, right? Plus, I had high respect from those who worked with me, including the physicians that had worked with me over the years. And so to have all of that called into question was like tragic, and it was hurtful. And I can tell you, I went through about 5 years of trying to figure it all out, and it just comes down to it was what it was. And that I believe in my case that there was a higher power at work. And I believe the lesson in what I learned was that I was allowing my career to be my identity. Now, as a Christian, my identity is supposed to be planted in Christ. And for me, it was coming to the knowledge that I was allowing something worldly to start um, clouding my view of the world. Does that make sense? Like when you
Mhm.
talk about love of the almighty dollar, like I was so proud of those diplomas on the wall, right? I was so proud of those alphabets behind my name, and I'd let that become my identity when Christ is really calling me to be something different. And so once I didn't have the career anymore, I had to discover who's Elaine and what is she really here on this earth to do, and what was my purpose. And so from that deep, dark place, I was able to kind of realign with my faith. I was able to hear what I felt like was God speaking into my life and how I could pour back into this world, regardless of how it had treated me. And to be real honest, at the end of the day, to get through something like what I went through, or like some of the things that people go through in the world who've been through much tougher situations than even what I've been through, giving yourself over and helping others, loving on someone else is the way through tragedy and pain. And so I loaned myself to that. I threw myself back into my faith, back into my church, back into serving others. And it was my path to healing and recovery. And from out of that, a new dream was born, one that was bigger than I could have ever imagined, one that is serving more people today than even what I did back in my nursing career. And for that, I'm grateful. For that, I'm grateful. Sometimes there are lessons in the pain sometimes, but when you find that lesson and you let that fuel your purpose, it's a beautiful thing because you usually come out better on the other side. And you find that if you don't go through things in life, you have to have a test to have a testimony. That's what we say kind of in the Christian world. And I can't relate to someone who's been through real tragedy if I haven't already been through it myself. And so what I've done is just take everything that had happened, everything that I went through, not only the career crash, but losing a parent, having a husband with a cancer diagnosis, and just turned all of that around and said, who can I help? Who can I help out of their pain and discomfort? And that was my road back to life. That was my road back to having a purpose, my road back to having joy again in my life. So I just turned all that pain into a passion and have tried to love on some people, and that's been very healing for me.
And I love that, Elaine. But the thing that really is probably on a lot of people's minds today, and it's been on my mind as you were just sharing that with me and hearing from you, is how did Elaine even get into healthcare to begin with? How did that even transpire?
So I just really felt from a young age that that's what I was called to do. Again, I believe that was my God given gift. I believe He whispered that into my soul. And so from an early age, in about seventh or eighth grade, that was my trajectory. When I knew that's what I was supposed to do, I just went for it. And so my whole entire high school was about courses leading into nursing school. And then I got into nursing school and I absolutely loved what I did. And so that's how I got into nursing. And again, just had a wonderful career, regret nothing, loved what I was able to accomplish while I was in it. And I'm just grateful to have had the chance and opportunity to serve some of the people that I did.
And to go through school as you did, you said, like you said, to become an RN, it took you what, 11 years?
Well, it takes 3 years to become an RN, or at least it did back in the day when I went to school. And then it takes another 2.5 to get your bachelor's, another 2.5 to get your master's. And then you've got about an 18-month training program to become a nurse practitioner. So you put all of that together, you're talking about 11 years worth of education.
Oh my word. That's a very long time.
It is. It's a
It is.
commitment. It's a commitment.
It is a commitment. But when you really know your mission, passion, and purpose, I know this might be cliche for a lot of people, but if you really love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
You never do. You never do. And it never felt like work to me. And that was the whole thing. It never, ever was more than a joy to me.
Right, right, absolutely. And Alexandria, I see that you're here with us today. Glad that you are here because Elaine, she says this whole conversation lit me up. Elaine, thank you for turning into your pain to your purpose to serve. Absolutely beautiful. Alexandria, please come join us. We would love to hear more from you too as well. I truly believe there's a power in story, and when we just let that be in and of itself. And hello, Timothy, glad that you're here with us too as well. Timothy, we would love for you, so please click the link here, and we would love to hear from all of you. And what Timothy just said, humanity, what a concept. That is truly amazing. And see, when you really think about it, Timothy, the one thing that interconnects us all is our very humanity. And once we tap into that, I truly believe it's literally the next evolutionary step of what humanity can turn into, not only in business today, but also beyond business into our communities and the families that we are a part of. And we even have families in our work and everything like that. But Elaine, let me ask you this. And I may have asked this to you on the phone call that we had a number of weeks ago. Um, do you believe the better question to ask is not what you do, but who are you?
I do, because I really feel like identifying who you are is how you will show up. And so I think when we try to step into roles of leadership, when we try to step into roles of caring for others, first we have to know who we are. There's a thing that we say in leadership, um, of you have to know, you have to be able to know yourself to lead yourself. And that is one of the things as a leadership entrepreneurial coach, which is what I do for women trying to lead businesses, ministries, and nonprofits, is first they have to know who they are in order to know how they're going to show up in front of someone else. And so it's really hard for us to understand what it's like to be on the other side of us. Some of us will never really quite understand what it's like to be on the other side of us. But we can get close. And when we start digging into the framework and the fabric of who we are, that becomes clearer. And so part of that is just talking about and recognizing our experiences as growth points. Everything I went through, including things I've gone through since then, health crises and losing other members of the family and things like that, like they're all growth points to figure out who we are. But in leadership, we have specific tools now that can kind of guide us. We get into these personality assessments, for instance, and some of them are very targeted and spot on. We get into what our leadership skills are, what our soft skills are, right? We have soft skills and how we deal with people. And so once we kind of explore those things, when we kind of quantify our personality type, our skill type, our spiritual focus, if you will, and then we look at it all together, we start getting a better picture of who we are. And from that, we can learn what our core is that will gain us pathway to what our purpose is. And so for me, for instance, I know now out of everything that I've been through different leadership tools that I have used, that at the core of my being, I'm a nurturer, I'm an empowerer. That's what I'm a teacher. And so all of those things played well also in my nursing career, because you do a lot of that in nursing. You empower, you nurture, you teach. But now, even in what I'm doing, it's just another transition into what I'm doing, because at the end of the day, that's who Elaine is. Elaine is a nurturer. Elaine is an encourager. Elaine is someone who's going to empower and cheerlead. And so I take that and I take those strengths and I use them for the benefit of others. And so when we all figure out who we are, it will help fuel our passion in a more direct path that we can actually be effective when we're trying to help others.
And I love that. But Alexandria, I know you were just on. We would love for you to come back. So hopefully you're not having no tech issues. Same thing with you, Timothy. We would love to have you on too as well. But this is what comes up for me, Elaine. Think about this. I got to ask you about knowing who we are. Is knowing who we are and how we even connect with others. Can that come from a place not only of intentionality, but also from a place of flow and maybe even alignment and agreement?
I think so. I mean, we're all a little different, right? And so we all bring something different to the table. And so once we kind of know who we are and we start trying to figure out and or we acknowledge who other people are at the table, and what they bring to the table, then we can get into the flow of the community that we're sitting with. And so, if I know where my strengths are, and then I can help identify your strengths, or you identify to me your strengths, then we can start looking collaboratively at how we can do something together. Because so my strengths should actually complement your weaknesses, and your strengths should complement my weaknesses. And so once you get at a table, then we can all start working together and flow, because we're working off of each other's strengths. We're allowing that person who has a strength higher than ours to bring that piece to the table so we can bring our strengths to the table. And that's how you get things done. And that's how community should work, instead of everybody trying to climb over everybody and say, look at me.
Well,
Kind of
I'm glad you brought
scenarios,
that
right?
up because even in John C. Maxwell's great book, The 21 Uniform Laws of Leadership, he even does mention that in his book. He's like, why were we even taught King of the Hill? Why
Mm-hmm.
were we even taught that? Well, we're taught to climb over people to get to the top. Why is that? Well, it might be a fun game at the time when we were kids, but when you think about it from a long term perspective, it really shows why people probably do what they do to be able to get to the top. And for me, Elaine, I know you probably feel the same way as I do. I don't want to step on people just to get to the top. It's not my place to do that. But again, it goes right back to the very, let's see, right there, that little picture right there about we rise by lifting others. I truly believe if we get people to where they want to go and make it about them and not about you, and put it on their timetable, not on mine, and everything like that, eventually it's not a matter if we rise with them, it's only a matter of when and everything
Mm-hmm.
like that. And it's a matter of also when too, of where they get to go and how they get there and everything like that. Do you feel the same way?
I do, because it's the image of, when you talk about rising together, it's the image of a ship in a harbor, right? And when a ship is in a harbor and it needs to rise to a certain level to get out of the harbor, the water has to come up all at the same time, right?
Yep.
At the same level, all across the water. And it's the same thing with us when we're working and we're collaborating. All of us need to rise at the same level to bring that thing to fruition. If one is trying to get above the other, then the boat is tipsy turvy. It's has at risk of sinking because it's taking on water. And so we have to be even. We have to be even. And a ship will rise faster when it's brought up by an equal amount of water. And so that's what we're doing in community. We're trying to level out the water. We're trying to lift the boat up together. And that's how you get out of the harbor and into an effective stance.
Now, Alexandria, I know this conversation lit you up. I know you got a lot to say already.
I am truly inspired by you, Elaine. I just was listening in, and I appreciate the invite because I didn't want to take the spotlight or anything like that. This is your show. I was just soaking up all the words, and I can relate a lot with where I'm going. And looking forward to build community and continue listening. And thank you for your service. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, Alexandria, I got to really ask you that because your story is going to be powerful when you share it in Conversation for Humanity too as well. But what are the big takeaways that you've already heard from Elaine that really resonate with you? Again, like lit you up. What were those things that really said, "My gosh, this is amazing"? This comes from a lady who works not only in the healthcare service but really has found her passion, her mission, and her purpose. What was that stuff for you so far?
I came in kind of late, but what lit me up was hearing, like, again, it's so the synchronicities are wild for me, Chris, because remember I was saying how you were saying things that I resonated with, and she was saying things that I resonate with that I say when it comes to turning my pain into purpose and being able to give back to people who've been through much worse than I have, and just being that vessel. And that commitment and dedication first to yourself and your own healing journey and sharing that with like-hearted people. I get that to my core, and I'm finally slowly taking a stand up and just trusting what higher power has in store for us as a collective. So yeah.
So I got to ask you, Alexandria, and I'm going to pose this to you too as well as Lane. Do you both feel that the very act of giving is in the very act of receiving? What say you, Elaine?
So I think that giving and receiving, I think it is definitely better to give than to receive. That is a biblical principle I stand on. And I have found that in the giving is the gift. And so I, for instance, have traveled and have done missions work now. I've been down to Nicaragua and done missions, and now currently going to Kenya and doing missions. And I can tell you, you go over and you go into these countries and these areas, and you feel like you're bringing such good things to them and good answers to them. And in that giving, I have received so much more back. Like, I have met people that are in communities that are poverty stricken, that are on the day to day, probably happier than I am in some points. Their graciousness, their ability to wrap around themselves and have family, even in that stressful situation, is a lesson we could learn here in the United States for sure. And their gratefulness, just their gratefulness for the little things. So it's better to give than receive, because the more you give, actually, the more you get back. You don't even have to ask for the receiving. And in the receiving that you're getting is the blessing.
I
And
love
one thing
that.
I wanted to add, one thing when I was listening to this her, I was just like, when it comes to the giving and receiving, even just learning from the people that you serve from. That I, at least for me, I'm right now serving at a volunteer. Well, I'm volunteering right now at a safe house called Generate Hope, and I've been there for about 4 months now. And oh my goodness, have I learned so much from the residents just by being, and it's just helped me expand so much as an individual, a woman, and expanding that heart space beyond just what my first intention was there. So I definitely can resonate with that.
So to take it maybe like I said back to that simplicity standpoint, Alexandria, do you just like with Elaine, do you believe the very act of giving is in the very act of receiving? Alexandria?
It's a balance. It's a balance. And,
Yeah.
I'm learning right now to be open to receive, especially with my walk of 12 steps and one day at a time. I'm going to be sober 4 years coming up next month, but one day at a time. And what I've learned on this journey, I call it a self-discovery journey. I've learned that, I gave a lot, especially when it came to living amends, making amends first to myself and, others, just the world. Sometimes I gave so much of myself that I was so depleted that I just didn't feel I was worthy to receive back. And I'm in a stage now as I'm launching and working on this nonprofit with like-hearted people. One of the biggest lessons I'm learning when it comes to stepping into this is being open to receive as much as I am giving. And it's not in a way of like taking, and I think that's why I was so hesitant or even opening myself up, because that's all I knew before. And I'm learning in a new way how to receive and gentleness and humility and compassion and collaborativeness, and being able just to be open to miracles. And you could originally have an intention to be like, I'm going to go and give my time and space to somebody, to be a service, a volunteer. And then you end up leaving the service being like, I feel like I was receiving more than what I originally intended there to like give, So it's learning that balance and where I am in that, and appreciating just the dance of harmony.
So let me ask you this, Elaine, because she brought up a great thing. Um, and I'm a big true believer in it. I truly believe that there's balance in every aspect of our life, and it's there whether we recognize it or not. It's there. But what's your take when it comes to balance, Elaine? What does that look like and mean to you?
So, balance is a funny word, right? Because in a way, balance is slightly an illusion. There never really is a straight balance. What it is a give and a take. And in those seasons or in those moments, we have to trade something off to get something else. There's always that battle. But when we are able to identify what I love what Alexandria was saying, like what fills our soul, what fills our cup, because we're going to need that refilling to be able to pour out again. When we're able to understand what is our refilling, then we can structure our life in a way that we don't ever let our cup run dry. Now, she's touching on things I think that is you are not alone in that, Andrea. There's a lot of women, especially, that are like that. We're so used to giving. We're used to giving. We're not very good at receiving, right? And compliments are the big thing, right? We're used to giving them. We're really bad about receiving them, right? It's a simple thing, but we're horrible about it. But when we're in that balance of figuring out what is it that we're actually going to let go of in order to receive, as long as we can kind of look at that and know that it's filling our cup, then I think it's a very good. That's how we maintain balance. We know that on this day we can give 4 hours to this organization and volunteer, but we know the next day we got to take some downtime for ourselves. And so we're not giving to people, we're giving to ourselves. And therein we start finding what we consider a little bit of balance. But it's never 50-50 ever. And that is the illusion. People get hung up. They want to be in the 50-50. There's never a 50-50. There's usually a 70-30, an 80-20. But you can't stay unbalanced in any one given area consistently all the time, or you face burnout. You have to at some point be able to lower the teeter-totter, if you will, back in the other direction to make sure your cup doesn't run dry. And so that's what I try to teach people about balance. Don't get caught up in the illusion, but figure out the percentages and figure out how to pattern your life so that you end up refilling your cup so you can give out more.
So, what's your take on that, Alexandria?
I'm like sitting here, I'm like, yes, queen, yes. Oh, yeah. Yes, please speak to all of us as women. It's beautiful. And I love what you said about surrendering, because that's one of the first things you learn to 12 step, that first step. And for me, I perceive it as learning what I'm powerless over and what makes my life unmanageable, to be able to do the flip side of that and actually put into action in my life. And those first 2 steps are really hard. And it taught me a lot about that balance and that illusion in between, because how I worked step 1 is more about being honest about what are you surrendering, what is making your life so like unmanageable and powerless. And then the flip side of that is having a higher power greater than me to restore my life back to sanity. And what does that look like? that was very hard for me in the beginning because I could never see myself being like compassionate through the heart space. You know what I mean? Unless there was an ulterior motive and I was thinking about it, I didn't know how to be generous. You know, I really had to look at the first the dark side of the coin to really look at the light and be that light of the whole same coin. It's the same thing, just different sides. And that duality is just a delusion part. So I definitely resonate so much with what you said. Just a little different perspective, but it's all the same.
Oh, I can see you two ladies talking. I see that's going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's going to be a matter of when. And I definitely like to be the fly on that wall when that happens and everything. But ladies, I want to bring this to the table too as well. And you kind of alluded to it, uh, Alexandria, that when you are surrendering, and to me, the way I look at that is about maybe the art of letting go and everything. And I want to go to you, Elaine. What does letting go really look like and mean to you?
I think letting go to me is letting go of my preconceptions, because my preconceptions are what bind me into what limits me. When we can let go of some of the preconceptions that we have, then you enter into the world of limitlessness. So for instance, for me, it was, I started working with women to empower them, want to coach them to be able to be leaders in their business, ministries, and nonprofits that they want to do. My perception was I was going to do that here in the United States. And yet, on my first conference that I launched, the She Steps Forward conference back in 2019, we had an attendee that came all the way from Africa. And as we were going through that weekend, I got a chance to get to know her, and she stayed over a couple of days and we had a chance to really talk. And she said, "Will you come to Nairobi?" Well, my perception was on the front end of that weekend was I was getting ready to work with United States women. When I let go of that perception and I let God enter that dream into my heart that it was beyond United States, I simply said, well, how are we going to get that done? And so we just started collaborating immediately. We got all this wonderful technology now, right? And so we talked through a year's worth of planning. And in February of 2020, I did my first conference in Nairobi, Kenya. Who would have thunk that a little girl from Suffolk, Virginia would have started this little conference where we had about 40 or 50 women out. And that was a success in my mind. It really still to this day, it's a successful start. And that's a perception I allow. It is a success. But who would have thought that out of that, this whole door would have opened up in a different country? And that now we're 4 years strong going into Kenya, having had 3 conferences there. I'm getting ready to go back and visit in just a few weeks. We'll be there in May because we go every year. And we're building this footprint and we're helping beyond the borders of the United States. If I'd have let my perception limit me to who I could work with, I'd still be bound here in the United States. But because I let that perception fall away and give in to what was the door that was presenting in front of me, now I have this whole wonderful thing that I'm doing over in Kenya. And it's probably going to go further before it's over with. So I just see that as, we need to let go of the limits. We need to let our perceptions fall. And we need to allow the doors that open to open and then walk through them.
Your take, Alexandria?
Let go to the flow. Let go to the flow. I love what she said regarding perception. Oh my goodness. I can go into a whole topic about that. And just being open to release those blinders, and I loved how you talked about how your perception grew without you even knowing it. You just had the willingness and you had a desire, and just saw what kind of opened up in front of you until it was in your face, and you're like, wow, okay, I think it's time to, it's that shift. Here it is. And look what's grown. And it's just so beautiful to see, especially on this type of level. Right now, I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to go too deep in it because this is not my time to speak about it. But I'm currently in a very early stage, starting a nonprofit that was given to me. Mm-hmm. And it's for a homestead sanctuary for survivor term survivors of women and their children of human sex trafficking and sexual exploitation. Ideally, women who are pregnant and women with children, because they are such a huge liability when it comes to coming out of the trafficking lifestyle and trying to find shelters. They cannot find them. There is very limited space. So I'm here to provide that and hold space and love so they can find their own light from within. So
That's beautiful.
I can't do this by myself. And
no. You need some people to help with the water level, right?
yes,
You need
ma'am.
some people to help you with your water level. So when your water level rises, that ship is going to rise. It's going to happen.
I'm thankful I have an advisory board right now that are all heart led, and I'm thankful that there's 3 right now on my board. But we're growing when it comes to just building connections and people who've already in this space of serving others in nonprofit, and I'm learning a lot from them. So I have less learning curves along the way when it comes to bringing this to life. Not for me. I'm just being a vessel and reminding myself that, and I'm really thankful that my advisory board really holds me accountable when it comes to being heart-led first and foremost, and reminding myself I am just a vessel here doing God's work. So I'm just thankful for that accountability and collaboration is the key to success in this type of service industry for me.
And I definitely, well, first of all, I applaud you for working in that difficult space, right? Not everybody can walk into that space and work that space. You have to have gone through something to be able to reach those women. And having said that, yeah, definitely we should be talking, because I do have already a couple of people I could connect you with that are in the same space that would be of support to you, and hopefully a collaboration for you.
I would love to meet them. Oh my goodness, that'd be great.
Absolutely. And see, that's what these calls are really meant to do. It's really connect and really inspire humanity one conversation at a time, one opportunity at a time, or even in one moment at a time. But I really want to go into this, ladies. It really, really strikes a chord with me right now, is that when we do find our mission, passion, and purpose in life and everything like that, and I kid you not, I'm going to put it in the comments of today's call because I truly believe it really speaks to me. And I even connected with this lady on LinkedIn. She's actually a TEDx speaker. She was at one point a trained opera singer and everything. And like I said, I will send both of you, like I said, that video. But what she talks about in the TEDx video that she did a number of years ago, her name is Celeste Headley, is she says about don't find a job, find a mission. And I want to go into that for a little bit and everything. So, Elaine, do you believe it's not about finding a job, but finding a mission?
Oh, it's absolutely about a mission, because your purpose in life is more than just punching a clock and getting a paycheck and going home. We are here to do more. We are here to create positive change. And we can't do that just doing a job. So I can speak from the faith perspective. I think that's one of the things that we have kind of gone astray a little bit with the church, is we've gotten very comfortable in the 4 walls. We've come in on Sunday morning, we've sat down, we've listened to our message, we've checked the box that we've been there, and we go home. And we're doing absolutely nothing with that information. And so we have to have a mission to push us to get up in the morning. We have to have a mission to push us to do something bigger than is of ourselves. A job is something you can take care of, and you can take care of it yourself, and you check the box and you're done. A mission is something much more technical and complex. A mission requires community. A mission requires funding. A mission requires a passion that burns deep, that makes you get up every morning and want to do it all over again, even when you go to bed tired from everything you did the day before. And so we have to have, we were born for more. We were purposed for more. We are not purposed here to satisfy our own needs. We are here to satisfy, I believe, in my faith-based perspective, God's kingdom work. And so when I'm working for God's kingdom kingdom's work, I can't be all about myself because that's not what he's about. And so I align my faith with my mission, and maybe other people have other faith perspectives or thoughts that they align with. But I think when you get into the mission space of why you're here and your purpose, it's more than a job. A job is simple. A job is easy. A job is not something you have to contemplate or think about or have any creative space over. It's you're doing what someone else is giving you to do humanly. But when you start getting into spaces of mission, you're talking about God-sized stuff. You're talking about, as we say in our organization, God-sized dreams. It is not something you will carry on by yourself. It is not. It is always bigger than you, and it's meant to be that way because in our perspective, you need to rely on him. He's giving you the mission. He's giving you an opportunity to participate in his plan, and he is the master creator and the master planner. And so you're going to need his help along with a whole lot of other people. And so that's the difference between a mission and a job. A mission will get you out of bed every single day, no matter how tired you go to bed the day before. A job will just leave you exhausted day after day after day after day.
Alexandria, I know you have something to share on this too as well.
I do. Maybe a little bit of, like, there was a comment that popped up and then it went away. And I really wanted to emphasize, I don't know who the gentleman was, but talking about for-profits can be turned as profits. Yes, nonprofits can be made profits easily, flip side in that coin. Absolutely. And I want to bring that to light here a little bit, because that was one of the first red flags that people were telling me to look out for as I'm growing my own nonprofit and making sure I stay accountable and integrity, making sure that I am not one of those red flags. And I think the biggest thing for me, I've been doing a lot of research with the LLC and just when it comes to serving in this field, and we're still working on the delivering with what we're doing in the background. And I didn't feel like I had enough to talk about to spread the awareness when it comes to this, but not just only my advisory board. I've had a lot of people on LinkedIn too. I came to I was asking them, like, how do I talk about this in a way where I don't come off pitchy, but I come off like to say, I'm trying to help people. Then this is much bigger. This is much bigger than me. I had this call in 2018 before I got sober, and I didn't feel like I was worthy enough to do it. And then I got sober as of May 5th, 2020. And during that, as like the onions were peeling back, the seed was still there, kind of like shining its light, going, don't forget, I called you. Don't forget. Are you going to answer? I'm going to keep ringing until you answer. And then I finally answered, and the right people were aligned in my life at the right time to kind of help me build that confidence to speak. And now where we're at, I want to make sure that I'm keeping that integrity as we grow. And I'm still new in this. There's a lot more that I'm learning. But I was worried about, like, how do I talk about this and coming in service rather than pitchy? And someone suggested to me to show that you're offering your heart. It's not, for me right now, it's not about the funding. It's about how can I connect to offer my heart to the women and children who need these services, that you do not understand that this happens right in front of our faces every single day. It's not just people in cages. And these women and these children need us. And I am not the only one that has a heart this big, but I'm thankful that God and the people that he's put in front of me to help build this courage to speak up, as some people know me as a coyote, and that's kind of the reason why. So that's kind of my spirit and coyote story. But I'm embracing a lot of different avenues here when it comes to giving the service back, and just reminding myself, I'm not the only one creating this, and I'm just beyond thankful to co-create. So yeah.
Well, you know what? By you just sharing that with us, Alexandria, it just really goes back to that very great song by that one famous Beatle. And he was taken down at a very early age, which was John Lennon, and his great song, Imagine. What can we imagine with that? And think about it. I want to go to you, Elaine. What can you imagine humanity turning into, whether it be a business or even beyond the scope of business? What do you see humanity evolving into?
Well, humanity in general needs to be something that we involve into more collaborations. And I think we're seeing that these days. I think there are younger generations that are rising up now that are more willing to come to the table and let differences be differences for the greater good, as we talked about. I see some of, I'm kind of middle age, I'll admit it. I'm in my early 50s. I'm proud of it. But I see some of the younger generation behind me. They have more of an ability to be inclusive. They have more of an ability to say, what can we work on together? And yeah, you may believe this and I may believe that, but it's okay. I think some of our older generations, which we still have things we can learn from them, which is the hard work, the integrity, the consistency. Let's not throw them out with the bathwater. But they were a little more rigid. They really had their perspectives and their views, and they really had a hard time coming together with people that were different than them. And so I just am really proud of our younger generation. I see the world tilting that we are trying to be better at putting our arms around other people without them having to mirror us. And that's okay. That's what we should be doing. We just, again, from a faith perspective, our command is to love God with all our heart and to love our neighbor as ourself, right? And I think some of our younger generation is doing a better job of that than we did in our older generations. And so I just think that we have to continue to transition in that perspective. I think as a whole, the church, I will say, I think is becoming more marketplace ministry minded, and that's a good thing. That means we're stretching beyond those four walls like never before. There's still some work to be done, but it's causing us to get out of our comfort zones and go out into the communities, which is where the need is. And it's also causing us to have another run at the world. We're becoming more global. More local churches are taking on global missions, and that's good. That means we're expanding who we're serving. And so humanity is trying. It's trying really hard. It's a hard fight every day. We're not always going to all agree every day, and there are going to be things that we strongly disagree. But if anything, in this time, in this age, I pray specifically for the United States that we come back to a stance on humanity that says we are here for each other, because we have become such a divisive nation, and we need to reverse that course. But that is going to take everyone coming to the table, right? And that's going to take some real open mindedness coming to the table. And so I pray, my prayer is that we are getting ready to have a revival in this country, no matter what happens politically, no matter what's happening economically, no matter what the next wave of disease might be that scares the world, that we are coming together as humans, that we are coming together to see that the greater good is always the greater purpose. And that if we can just get back to loving our neighbor as ourselves, we'll find out that we actually have a lot more in common than we have in differences. My ministry has purposefully, or my work has purposefully always started off on a diverse foot. I think there is strength in diversity. I think there are voices in diversity that need to be heard. And so as we have built She Steps Forward, and as I've worked within the ranks of what I'm doing in She Steps Forward, it's open for women. Now, yes, we target Christian female entrepreneurs. That doesn't mean we won't work with anybody. I think you and I kind of talked about this a little bit on our call, Chris. Doesn't mean that we won't work with anybody. We do want them to understand we have our values, we have our faith perspective. That's where we're coming out of. But we're going to respect you as a person and give you just as much value as we would the person who mirrors us, right? And our faith and our stance. And so that's not the issue for us. We've also purposely, for humanity's sake, not let this organization rest within one specific church, because we want to work across denominations. We want to work across race. We want to work across all of these things that would hold us back. And so the more we can unify in that, the better. And I think we're going to have a better outcome in what we're doing. I know for humanity's sake and the work that I do, I'll say this really quickly, that empowering women who are doing things that give back to the community, and Andrea is a great example of that. She's working in a nonprofit to tackle this hard issue, which she's going to make change in our communities that's so positive that it's going to ripple effect what occurs. And so we want to support those women. We want to say, get out there, let's do the hard work, let's roll up our sleeves. And what could the world look like if we were all doing this together? And so that is kind of the point of what I do right now as a passion anyway. And so that's where I would say about that.
I actually have to get off for a call, but I just wanted to say I'm so thankful to hop in here. And my takeaway is if you want to change the world, you have to start with yourself, then your family, then your community. It has to start with you, within the woman, man in the mirror. Thank you, MJ. Appreciate you for that song. And with that, I hope to talk to you soon, Elaine. I would love to learn and grow with you too. Chris, I'll see you around, okay?
Absolutely.
All right, Alexandra, thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you soon. And yes, we'll definitely talk amongst ourselves very soon. We'll make that call happen. Thank you so much, ma'am. And you have a wonderful Wednesday. Elaine, it really brings me back to this. And I'm going to share it right now because what you just shared there was just truly powerful and everything. And I'm going to share this great quote. Uh, and it comes from Star Wars, and it literally has changed my life. And Alexandria, I wish you were still on because I know you will love this too. It goes to this very dynamic. You really think about it. Is to embrace others for their differences, for that which makes you whole. What's your take on that, Elaine?
Let me read it one more time. Do it one more time. Embrace others for their differences, for that makes you whole. I think we're all just a beautiful piece of tapestry. That's what humanity is. And I think when we can embrace the differences, then we see humanity at its core. Now, I'm just a piece of the tapestry, and how I look at it is my little corner of the world, but that doesn't make up the whole tapestry of humanity itself. And I think if you really want to get in there and you want to love on some people, you want to change the world, we have to look at humanity as a whole, not just the corner that looks like us, not just the piece that mirrors us and makes us comfortable. Again, it goes back to this discussion of getting out of silos and just really appreciating human beings on the level of human beings and not putting any pretense on them for that.
What thing about it in the adage again might be I'm tongue tied today. Yeah, cliche for a lot of people, but I truly believe it is so true. Is that we're 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 only human. We're not human doers. We're human beings, and when you are literally in a state of being, when you really think about it, Elaine, what you do is a natural byproduct of that, is it not?
It is, and it is all of our experiences coming forward in what we're being. And so we can be who we are, but there probably is a point of growth that we want to hit. And once we can recognize who we are as a human being, we can now take that as a growth point and start growing from there into a better human being.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And see, when we really know what we literally have been gifted to not only share with the world, but also of what gifts that we receive, and again, we just allow that to occur and everything, then our perception and literally, I kid you not, our state of being will literally change because, again, Elaine, I want to bring this to the table. I'm sure a lot of us at one time in our lives, in one way, shape, matter, or form, was literally only in a place of existence, not literally living and everything like that. And I want to go into that for just a moment. Did you ever felt in your life that you were just existing and you were just going through the motions or anything like that? And if you were, what was that change for you to get you out of a place of existence but truly living?
I think that was probably the first half of my life. And so I'm going to relate that back to my Christian walk. I was, again, brought up in a Christian home. I had not known anything but the church my entire life. And yet, in that, and believing in the faith that the church gives us, it was a pretty cushy, bubble wrapped existence. Like, I didn't really have any bad experiences. And so I didn't realize that what I was living was just living. Okay. Let me put it that way. Like, nothing was really wrong in life. Everything was going my way. And yet I was really only serving my purposes. And so until I had my moment in 2008, until I went through that hard period from 2008, 2013, where the career crashed, the father passing away, and the husband with the cancer diagnosis, I didn't realize how purposeful life could be, because I had been so busy turning it in on me and just kind of coasting, if you will, comfortable Christian coasting life, that I didn't realize turning it out was going to be such a passion filled, earth shattering movement within me, to the point that now I never hardly think of myself, right? I'm always thinking about the other, which is what God calls us to do, is to think about the other. And so I think for me, that was my turning point, was in 2008. It wasn't that I was a bad person. It wasn't that I was doing horrible things. I was actually doing good things, being a nurse, right? It wasn't that I was mean to people by any standard, but I wasn't really living. I was just really existing inside the comfort of what I had grown up in. And so I think until I was pushed out of the nest, if you will, in 2008, and really learned what walking my faith out meant, learning what it meant to rely on my higher power, which is God, I didn't know what it was to live. And now I can't even imagine going back to that point. I can't even imagine not doing the things that I'm doing now and living in the perspective that I live in now, and seeing the world the way I see it. I can't go back and unsee the things that I've seen now. Um,
Right.
and it's great. It's great because it keeps me from refocusing on myself, and it keeps me outward focused on the other
Mhm.
all the time.
Yeah, and I love that. And see, Elaine, for a lot of years, I kid you not, I was literally taught to only think about myself and go through the motions of, hey, keep your head down, don't ask any questions, just work, go home, that's it, that's that, and everything. And again, when I had that epiphany moment, which is one of three that I had, and even in the creation of bringing humanity together, is when I asked myself, should I be working with people or for people? And everything like that. And that's when I had that light bulb aha moment to a large degree, that I knew, my word, I was just literally in this point in my life, up to that, at that point, I was just living one life. I wasn't really living the fulfilled, meaningful life that I was really meant to fulfill, and everything like that. And that, again, people can call it an existence and versus living. And I see that, but when you really had that moment in your life that you knew, like you said, you can never go back on what you've done and everything. And I get that, but a lot of people get into that kind of thing, and I kid you not, this even happened to my own family, when I've had grandparents on their last day say, "Oh, I wish I could have done this, or I wish I could have done that." And you can't play that woulda, coulda, shoulda game and everything like that. You just got to really live life for every moment, because, again, we're not guaranteed tomorrow.
And I think we touched on this in our conversation before. Like, it's a life of legacy. What will your legacy look like? And I've tried to teach women that if you live with legacy in mind, then the
Yes.
whole world comes into focus. It's not about your day to day and who will remember you from yesterday. It's what will you be remembered for, and how will you have made your mark on this world? And how can you set something up that will live beyond you? Because that is the ultimate compliment of legacy, is that it lives beyond us. And so I think living a life of legacy is incredibly important to do and to teach others how to focus on.
Yes, and I love that. And see, when you really think about it, Elaine, and I believe in this, is that when you really think about it, your mission, passion, and purpose is not only interconnected to legacy, but think about it, it's also interconnected to vision. It's
Hmm.
interconnected to even connecting with people. It's
Hmm.
interconnected to momentum. All of that's there, is it not?
That's true. That is true.
So the question then becomes, why do we not live in a legacy mindset? What really keeps us maybe from that, do you believe?
I really think people just have not been raised up with that perspective. I really think we are in a scarcity mentality, and where we feel
Hmm.
like we're struggling in the day to day, and what we need is an abundance mentality. Now, for me, that's what my faith gives me, is an abundance mentality, that it will be there when I need it and I don't need to struggle for it. And so it allows me to relax. But if you're living in a scarcity mentality, you don't have time to think about anybody else. You're just trying to survive, right?
Hmm.
But when you can flip into an abundance mentality, then you can start seeing others in your periphery.
Yes, and we definitely have to talk about that even more so, because I'm a big thing on abundance versus scarcity, because I truly resonate with that, because I believe that too as well. Because many years ago, I was in living in that scarcity mentality. Oh, I'm not going to be able to pay the bill tomorrow, so I got to be able to choose now. What do I do here? Pay the rent, or do I not eat tonight, and everything like that? But I truly believe in this, and I want to get your take on it, Elaine. It's almost like if you have hope and faith, you know everything is going to be okay, one way, shape, matter, or form, is it not?
True. And that is why, for me, faith is my lifeblood. For me, my faith, my specifically for me, Christian faith is hope. And without that hope, I can't get up and face the next day. I don't know how to comprehend the things that are going on in this world without that hope. That hope is what covers me for the next step. And so, yeah, it is all about hope, and faith is something that brings you that. And so, for me, my faith is what guides me in that and brings me the greatest source of hope.
Absolutely. And see, I share with people all the time this kind of quote, and I want to get your take on it. It's like, when hope and faith come knock on your door, are you willing to answer that call?
That's right. That's right. Because some of us want to stay in our trauma. Some of
Yeah.
us want to stay in our past. And unfortunately, that's not a healthy environment to be in.
Right.
So, really quickly, not to get super religious or spiritual, but there's a story in the Bible about a man who was laying at a at a bathhouse, and Jesus comes up to him, and he's been laying there for 38 years waiting for his chance to get in the water, which he believed would create a physical miracle. And the wells only sprung up once a year. So these people would be there sick and lame and would wait for the well to spring up, and they were supposed to get in the water, and the first one in would receive their healing. And he'd been there for 38 years. And when Jesus come along, he asked him a simple question: do you want to be well? That is the question. Do you want to be well? And if you want to be well, you get up and you move, you go, you take that hope and you move with it. If we stay in our trauma, if we stay in our past, we will never find the healing that we're seeking.
Absolutely. I love that. And Elaine, I know we could go even further and deeper in and of itself, and I know we'll have another call offline too as well. But I want to give you the opportunity to have some closing thoughts and maybe a call to action for people. And again, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today on Conversation for Humanity. Final thoughts from you, ma'am.
Well, thank you, first of all, for having me. I truly appreciate the time and the space. I just want to say, for my end of it, that everyone has been created for a purpose. And I hope that everyone is striving to find theirs. And if you need help in your purpose, you need other people to help with your purpose. And that's okay. That's what we're all here for. And that's what we want to do, is to seek out these collaborations and times that we can come together as a group, as the larger family of humanity, and do good. And then for anyone who is out there, again, I do work right now with Christian female entrepreneurs that are 0 to 3 year getting off the ground entrepreneurs that want to start a business, ministry, or nonprofit. She Steps Forward is here both in a coaching community and also in our for our nonprofit, community, where we are here to empower and equip you to be able to chase after and successfully obtain that God-sized dream. We welcome you to our community.
Absolutely. So, Elaine, I will put your LinkedIn contact information there so people can reach out to you. And again, we're just so humbled and honored that you shared your story with us today. And like I said, I am personally, I kid you not, ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking forward to collaborating with Elaine. Like I said, when I saw her on that great podcast a few weeks ago, and I chimed in when she was that guest, I was like, these are the kind of people you need to get in touch of and everything like that, because you just never know what comes before you, because again, the gifts are everywhere if you just are willing to see them and willing to find them. And like I said, Elaine, you've just been a beautiful gift in and of itself. So again, we appreciate you. Like I said, looking forward to the great collaborations ahead. So again, if you'd like to come share your story on Conversation for Humanity, please click that link there or reach out to me directly, and I can send it out to you. And we would love for you to be a part of our great and growing community and movement that is bringing humanity together. So, Elaine, thank you so much. I hope you're going to have a wonderful Wednesday today. And again, if there's anything that we can be of service to you here at Bring Humanity Together, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we will love that. And again, Elaine, you're going to do amazing things, and I see that happening, and you're going to answer that call each and every single time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, everyone, you guys have a great, wonderful Wednesday. I got to go watch some more flybys, as they call them, because Sun and Fun is still calling. You know how that goes. So I'll be checking out the airplane. So from all of us here at Bringing Humanity Together in Adaptive Strategies Group, you guys have a wonderful Wednesday. Make your day, and we'll see each other on next Conversations for Humanity, powered by Bringing Humanity Together. Have a great day, everyone. And